This work of fiction is intended for mature audiences. It contains themes of psychological horror and violence presented in a restrained manner. All characters and events are entirely fictional. The narrative is not intended to glorify or encourage harmful behavior.
I remember that special day vividly. The moment that was meant to herald a new beginning for two souls united by an age-old tradition. In the heart of a vibrant Pakistani celebration, I stood as the groom, dressed in a tailored sherwani that gleamed with the promise of a future I had long envisioned. The atmosphere was charged with the excitement of family and friends gathering to honor our sacred Nikah, a ceremony steeped in tradition. Detail, from the harmonious strains of qawwali music to the fragrant wafts of marigold and rosewater, spoke of hope, unity, and the abiding strength of our cultural heritage. My bride, Aisha, radiated a serene beauty that outshone even the most luminous of the diyas that lit our celebration. Though gentle and kind, held mysteries that I had always sensed but never fully understood. Beneath her calm exterior, I knew, lay a depth of emotion that would soon be tested in ways I could never have anticipated. In the months before our union, I had courted her with an intensity that was both complete and conflicted. I had ventured along dangerous and illicit feminine pursuits in my past, paths that, though I had long since abandoned, cast long and lingering shadows over the present. I had pursued fleeting liaisons, a series of indiscretions that I convinced myself were former relics of a life I had outgrown. In my heart, I believed that the sanctity of our Nikah would wash away these stains, allowing me to embrace a future unburdened by regret or remorse. On the morning of our wedding, as the first light of dawn illuminated the courtyard of our family Haveli, I caught a glimpse of Aisha preparing in quiet solitude. She sat before an ornate mirror, delicately applying her makeup while humming a soft, innocent, almost ethereal tune. For a brief moment, time seemed to slow, and in that reflective surface, I swore I caught sight of a fleeting image, a woman's face that was not her own, etched with an expression of sorrow and silent accusation. I paused, heart thumping, uncertain if it was the result of anxious nerves or merely a trick of the light. Dismissing it as an anomaly of the mind, I returned to the celebration, unaware that the seed of dread had already been sown. As the day unfolded, the joyous rituals of our wedding ceremony took on a strange, foreboding undertone. The sacred Nikah ceremony was performed with solemn incantations and blessings, a moment when tradition and spirituality intertwined. Whispers of an ancient guardian, a benevolent spirit tasked with protecting the sanctity of marriage, lingered in the conversations of the elders. They spoke of a force that watched over brides, ensuring that the vows exchanged in the sacred ceremony were honored with truth and fidelity. I laughed off these murmurs as the fanciful legends of our ancestors, unaware that the coming days would force me to confront forces far beyond the realm of mortal understanding. Continued into the second day with the Mehendi ceremony, where Aisha's hands and feet were adorned with intricate, hand-drawn henna designs, a symbol of joy, prosperity, and the promise of love. Surrounded by the warmth of family and the vibrant chatter of friends, I could not help but notice an undercurrent of unease in Aisha's quiet glances. Her eyes, which moments ago had sparkled with allure and anticipation, now revealed a hint of something unspoken, a silent question that left me troubled. That evening, while I mingled with the guests under the starlit sky in the courtyard, I caught sight of Aisha again. She had retreated to a secluded room, drawn inexplicably to a large antique mirror that hung upon the wall. I approached her, my heart heavy with dread. "Aisha, my love, are you well?" I asked softly. Her voice trembled as she turned to me. I saw her again in the mirror, she whispered, her eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. Not my reflection, but a different face, a face full of longing and despair. Her words sent a chill down my spine. I struggled to piece together her meaning, aware that something profound and unsettling was unfolding before her eyes. I gently took her hand and led her away from the mirror, attempting to reassure her with promises of fidelity and love. But deep within, I was haunted by the possibility that the mirror was revealing secrets I had long kept hidden. Was it possible that the sorrowful faces reflected there were faces of the killers I had carelessly impacted? In the hushed tones of that moment, amidst the laughter and clinking of glasses at the wedding feast, a terrible thought began to crystallize. My past indiscretions, my hidden misdeeds were clawing their way to the surface and into our present. Family members exchanged worried looks, and murmurs of concern spread like wildfire among the guests. Some of the elder women, whose lives were intersected with the ancient lore of our traditions, began to speak in low, urgent tones about omens and spirits. They told of the sacred guardian who maintained the purity of the marriage vows, a force that did not take kindly to those who broke the bonds of scared fidelity. I tried to dismiss their concerns, but each word only deepened my As the wedding festivities progressed, a new and inexplicable terror took hold. That night, as Aisha sat quietly in the candlelit room while her henna was being applied by her friends, the beautiful, intricate designs began to shift in ways that defied explanation. The familiar swirls and patterns of the henna, the very symbols of beauty and auspiciousness, started to distort into strangely grotesque images. In the flickering light, the delicate lines seemed to twist and reform into vague shapes and symbols, hints of images that spoke of secrets and silent condemnations. I watched in silent horror as the henna transformed before my eyes, morphing into abstract forms that evoked scenes of betrayal and deep regret. Aisha's soft voice broke the uncomfortable silence. "Look, something is wrong with the design. It's as if it's telling a story that I do not want to see." The once celebratory artwork on her skin had become an unholy chronicle of my past transgressions. Each curve and dot appeared to map out the sins of a man who had once lost his way. A man who had indulged in carnal temptations that were never meant to be shared. In that moment, I felt as if the very air around us was charged with an electric sense of judgment. The henna, applied with such care and artistry, had turned into a silent witness, its shifting patterns recounting every lapse of common sense, in a language that was both mesmerizing and horrifying. I tried to offer comfort, speaking softly and reassuringly to Aisha. Yet my own heart was heavy with insufferable guilt. The face I had seen in the mirror was no mere trick of the light. It was an entity of truths I had desperately sought to bury. As the hours wore on, the transformation of the henna became more pronounced. What had started as a beautiful adornment now told a tale of sorrow and immorality, a narrative that seemed to belie the ancient warnings of our elders. The whispers among the family grew louder, and some of the more learned among them began to speak of the sacred guardian of the Nikah. This revered spirit was said to protect the sanctity of the marriage, ensuring that the promises exchanged under the watchful eyes of Allah would not be sullied by deception. The idea that such a force could be stirring within the confines of our celebration filled me with an inescapable dread. I spent long, sleepless nights grappling with the reality that the supernatural might be intervening in our lives. Every creak of the Haveli's ancient wood, every shifting shadow in the venue seemed to murmur a warning. The past cannot be concealed forever, and the truth, however painful, must eventually be brought in. Day celebration entered its fourth day. The once jubilant atmosphere of the Haveli was now overcast by an intangible gloom. The once festive gatherings had transformed into somber assemblies, where every smile was tinged with anxiety, and every conversation hinted at the unspoken horrors that lurked just beneath the surface. In every reflective surface, be it an antique mirror, a polished silver tray, or even the glistening surface of a ceremonial plate, Aisha continued to see the faces of women whose eyes held nothing but sorrow and silence. Feel the weight of my secrets pressing down on me, each passing moment a reminder of the promises I had broken. The spirit of our sacred Nikah, once regarded as a benign guardian of tradition, now seemed to be an active force, one that was drawing a veil over our happiness and replacing justice. The elders, with their eyes clouded by both worry and uncertainty, began performing discreet prayers and rituals. Their murmured invocations filled the halls of the Haveli, as if they were attempting to appease a power that was rapidly spiraling out of control. One evening, in a rare moment of vulnerability, I sat with Aisha in the cool shade of the Haveli's garden. The night was calm, yet the silence between us was filled with unspoken words. "Aisha," I began, my voice trembling as much from fear as from regret. "I must confess something that I have long hidden. There were moments in my past, a time when I allowed myself to stray from the path of honor. I thought I had left those days behind, but I see now that the past has a way of resurfacing when least expected." Her eyes, shimmering with a mixture of pain and disbelief, searched mine. "Is it true then?" she asked in a voice barely above a whisper. "Are these the images of the young women you once deceived?" The question hung between us, a stark confrontation with a truth I had long evaded. I looked away, unable to meet her gaze directly. "I did sin," I admitted softly. "I sought companionship in fleeting moments, in the allure of temptation, but I believed that my future with you would erase those mistakes. I never imagined that the past would come back to haunt us in such a tangible way." My confession, spoken in the hush of the night, seemed to reverberate through the garden, mingling with the rustle of the palm fronds and the distant murmur of a night breeze. Aisha's face was a study in conflicting emotions: hurt, shock, sorrow, and a desperate need for understanding. Yet, as she clutched my hand, I could see that the images in the mirror and the cryptic designs on her skin were not merely symbolic. They were physical manifestations of a betrayal that had taken on a life of its own. In that moment, I realized that our wedding had transformed into a trial by fire, a test of whether love and redemption could emerge unscathed from the ashes of guilt. Throughout the following days, the spiritual presence within the Haveli grew ever more palpable. In quiet moments, I could feel an unseen force weighing upon me, as if the very walls were imbued with the sorrow of those I had wronged. The sacred guardian of the Nikah, a revered yet mysterious force of tradition, was said to be an avenger, not of vengeance born from hatred, but of a deep commitment to the honor and sanctity of marriage. Its presence, once a distant fable told to keep young men in check, had become an undeniable reality. And with every passing hour, the omen grew darker and more our wedding arrived with an air of somber inevitability. The vibrant halls of the Haveli, once filled with laughter and jubilant music, now resonated with a heavy, foreboding silence. A silence broken only by the soft murmurs of prayers and the distant patter of footsteps. Aisha, overwhelmed by the nightly terrors of ghastly reflections and the relentless revelations alive upon her skin, in the early hours, leaving behind an emptiness that felt both profound and tragic. I found myself alone in the vast expanse of our ancestral home. Every step I took was burdened by the knowledge of my transgressions. Every shadow seemed to whisper reminders of a past that I could neither hide from nor undo. The sacred guardian, the ancient spirit believed to watch over the Nikah, had been a surreal presence throughout our celebration. Now, on this revealed itself in a manner that I could not have even dreamed. As midnight approached, the atmosphere in the Haveli shifted palpably. The air grew colder. The walls seemed to pulse with a quiet, inexorable energy, and even the flickering oil lamps appeared to bow before an unseen force. Drawn by a mixture of dread and a desperate need for absolution, I wandered into a secluded chamber that had once been used for prayer and reflection. The room was adorned with ancient inscriptions and delicate calligraphy, testaments to the timeless rituals of our forebears. It was here, in that hushed sanctum, that I finally comprehended the magnitude of the curse that had been invoked. Before me, bathed in an angelic glow, stood a figure that defied mortal description. It was neither wholly human nor entirely ethereal, a luminous embodiment of the sacred guardian that had long protected the sacredness of our matrimonial vows. Its blue eyes shone with a calm yet unyielding light, and in its presence, the room itself seemed to quiver with the weight of ancient ultimate judgment. I fell to my knees, overcome by remorse and an overwhelming terror that transcended physical pain into mental anguish. "Forgive me," I pleaded, my voice trembling with sincerity. "I sought redemption in our union, but my past deeds have left an indelible mark. I have betrayed the marital trust that was meant to be sacred, and I have incurred the wrath of forces far beyond my understanding." My words, though weak, filled in the stillness of that chamber, mingling with the silent incantations that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. The guardian did not speak in words. Its presence alone conveyed an undeniable verdict. Slowly, it reached out, a gesture both sorrowful and resolute. In that final moment, I felt a cold, unrelenting force wash over me, a force that seemed to strip away the layers of pretense and reveal the raw, unvarnished truth of my soul. The sensations were both excruciating and undeniably liberating, as if I were being ushered away from the realm of mortal men into a state of eternal, vile consequence. When dawn broke over the Haveli, the world was irrevocably changed. The guests, having awoken to an eerie quiet and a sense of collective sadness, soon discovered that I lay lifeless in the courtyard. My body, cold and still, bore the unmistakable signs of a final verdict, a silent testimony to the power of ancient tradition and the enduring might of scared honor. The news spread swiftly through the gathering, and whispers of the sacred guardian's intervention reverberated among the elders. Some claimed that I had been taken by the very spirit that vowed to protect the integrity of our union, a force that ensured that every vow was honored and every betrayal was given grave consequences. Aisha was never seen again after that night. Some believed that in her anguish she had fled to escape a destiny too steeped in heartbreak, while others murmured that the guardian's mercy had carried her away to a higher plane of existence. The truth, like so many of life's mysteries, was shrouded in the mists of uncertainty. In the aftermath, the Haveli stood as a silent monument to our tragic tale. A once hallowed hall, now haunted by memories of joy turned to despair, of a union that had been doomed from the very start. In the quiet days that followed, the elders gathered to perform solemn rites, their voices trembling as they recounted the ancient lore of our people. They spoke of the sacred guardian of the Nikah, a benevolent yet formidable presence entrusted with the protection of the bride's honor and the sanctity of the matrimonial bond. It was said that the guardian's intervention was not born of malice, but of a deep commitment to preserving the sacredness of marriage. And so, my story became a cautionary tale, a reminder that the sins of the past, no matter how deeply buried, will eventually resurface to the light to demand that. As I share these words from beyond the veil of mortal existence, I am forced to confront the legacy of my choices. I am but a whisper in the corridors of time, a ghostly reminder that deception carries a price far greater than any earthly punishment. I offer this confession not only as an act of contrition, but also as a dire warning that the path of betrayal is fraught with consequences that no human being can escape. The sacred guardian of our traditions continues its eternal vigil, a silent sentinel ensuring that every vow is honored and every wrong is ultimately made right. In the twilight of my existence, I remain a part of that endless cycle, a testament to the power of truth, the inevitability of retribution, and the transcendent strength of ancient tradition. May my tale serve as a beacon to all who dare to stray from the path of integrity, and a reminder that the past, no matter how deeply one tries to bury it, will always find a way to return to the light. And as the memories of that final night resound through the ages, I can only hope that my story will inspire others to embrace honesty, to honor their commitments, and to remember that some guardians, whether of flesh or spirit, are ever watchful, ready to restore the delicate balance between sin and sacredness. Even in the quiet that follows tragedy, the memory of those 7 days lingers, a poignant reminder of the fragile boundary between hope and horror, between love and betrayal. The sacred guardian of the Nikah, ever vigilant, continues to protect the sanctity of marriage, ensuring that every union is forged in truth, love, and honor. In the end, my downfall was not solely the consequence of my sinful deeds, but a lesson etched into the very fabric of holy tradition, a lesson that reverberates through the ages, warning all who dare to defy the sacred vows of love. Thus, I leave behind not only a tale of terror and remorse, but also an enduring legacy, a legacy that calls for introspection, for the acknowledgement that every action bears a consequence, and for the understanding that in the realm of the sacred, no secret can remain hidden forever. May those who follow after me choose wisely, and may the guardian's watchful eye guide every heart toward the light of truth and the redemption that comes from honoring the sacred.
Hello, my Nightmare Obsession fans. We hope you loved this story and were almost frightened to death, left wanting even more. If so, please share video and our channel link with friends and family and ask them to subscribe, like, comment, and share with their friends and family too. We really want to create more nightmarish horror stories for you, so please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel now. We would really appreciate it. Thanks so much.